We're here today at the Veterans Memorial Center on Merritt Island in Florida. Today's date is November the 17th, 2019. My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated. And we're here today doing an interview with, sir, what is your name?
Sharron McClellan.
Okay, and Mr. McClellan, when were you born?
December 11th, 1967.
Okay. And the other people in the room who are attending are his wife and daughter.
Correct.
And ma'am, what is your name?
Francine McClellan.
And
Savannah
Savannah, what's your last name?
McClellan,
And how old are you?
6.
Okay. Okay, good. Let's see. So, sir, what branch of the service did you serve in?
United States Navy.
Okay, and why did you go into the Navy? What was your inspiration?
My inspiration initially for joining the Navy was I needed money for school.
Okay.
And then there was that John Wayne movie, In Harm's Way,
Okay.
and this other little flick that got a little attention called Top Gun.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, that was quite a bit of inspiration. Well, that's too many reasons. I guess you couldn't get out of it after all that, huh?
No.
Okay, hold on one second. Good. So, okay, that being said, where were you when you went into service?
I entered into the Naval Service at MEPS in Atlanta.
Oh, in Atlanta, Georgia?
Yes, sir. Originally,
Okay.
I'm from Georgia.
What were you doing prior to going into the service?
I was working at an auto parts store and McDonald's.
Okay, 2 jobs. Okay, and how old were you at that time?
20.
Okay, all right. Had you been to high school and college, or?
Actually, yes, I had graduated from high school and had quite literally quit college before I could flunk out.
Okay, we never mind. This is your story. I already committed mine. Anyway, okay, so why did you pick that service branch because of the movies? That was it, or?
The movies and the fact that I was in a landlocked state, but I had always had an affinity for the water.
Okay, all right, the ocean. I get it. I really understand that one. Okay, so do you recall your first, the first days in service, basic training?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Where did you go to basic training?
Great Lakes.
Great Lakes. Huh? And how long was the basic training?
9 weeks.
9 weeks?
It was advertised as 8, but we had a whole week of what we call P days, where they got enough people together to actually form up a company.
Okay.
So that's where we got all of our gear, our clothing, our sea bags, and we were kind of sleeping just in open bay barracks until everybody else showed up, and then they kind of mass marched us over to where we were going to be staying and completing basic training.
Okay. All right. So tell me about basic training. What was it? What did that nine weeks consist of? How much fun did you have?
Actually, it really wasn't that bad.
Okay.
It really wasn't. The worst part was the cold.
Oh.
So
What time of year was it?
February.
Ah.
So I'm a Georgia boy, so I leave with a little windbreaker and I show up in Great Lakes, Chicago, and there's already three inches of this white stuff called snow that I've heard about but never actually seen before.
Okay.
And so we're standing out on the grinder and they're in 3 inches of snow, freezing,
Right.
and just, all that. Cold. I remember the cold. That was the first thing that I actually remember.
Right. Just snaps right back, huh?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. So, what about your instructors? What were they like?
Oh, Chief Murray and Petty Officer Donkers. Again, names that you'll never forget.
I see. Tell me about him.
Chief was pretty awesome. He was pretty awesome, and I came to realize later on in my naval service that he really was a stereotypical chief. Short, kind of chubby, very knowledgeable about what he was supposed to be knowledgeable about. someone that you really didn't want to get on their bad side
Right.
with.
Right.
However, he would bend over backwards to help you if he could.
Okay.
And in that same vein, he would not hesitate to set you straight if you needed it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Petty Officer Donkers, on the other hand, he was just loud.
Uh-huh.
All the time, loud. But yet, if you had a valid question, he would answer it.
Okay.
And if he had a stupid question, first off he'd tell you that you were stupid, and then he'd answer the question.
Okay. Was that any facsimile there with, good cop, bad cop kind of comparison, or?
Not really. That
No.
was just who they were.
That's who they were. Got it. All right. So apparently you got through basic training.
Got through basic.
And so your tech school, what did you call the job that you're going to do? What in the Navy, what do they call that? In the Air Force, they call it an MOS.
Oh, for us it was our NEC.
NEC. Okay.
Right. Our Naval Enlisted Classification.
Okay.
Right. So for me, because I was going into submarines right after basic,
Right.
I went to submarine school in this awesome place called New London, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. What was so awesome about it?
Nothing.
Okay. Okay.
And when I say nothing, I mean I hated the food, I hated the weather, I hated the songs that were on the radio,
Uh-huh.
I hated the TV programming.
So it was a good tour.
Oh, totally.
Okay. All right. So.
But basic enlisted submarine school, we call it BESS, teaches you it's exactly what it says. It's the very, very basics of submarining. So you learn submarine construction, you get an NDOC, really, of almost all of the systems that are on board a submarine. So they kind of give you a preparatory class for your qualification process once you get on board. And then you go through the wet trainer, which was a pretty awesome experience in and of itself. It's a mock-up of an engine room. You're in there with about 5 or 6 other guys, and they just start dumping water out of these pipes, and it is your job to stop the flooding.
Okay.
So you have to keep your cool, think about what it is that you're doing before you do it. Somehow or another, I got nominated to be the team leader, or the on-scene guy. So I was the one directing traffic.
Right.
And there was this big opening called the flange. That was the thing that everybody talked about, was the flange. And it was about a 12-inch pipe, and you could hear the water coming down the pipes, and it was just this low rumble, and all of a sudden water hit it, and it's just like spewed everywhere. So I asked one of the guys, he was going to nuclear power school. And I was like, hey, what do we do about that? He's like, call up to control and tell them to shut down main seawater. And I kind of looked at him, I was like, I can do that? He's like, yes, you can do that. That's legal? Yes! You sure? Yes! Damn it, call! Okay.
So.
I got my sound-powered phone talker, call up, ask them to secure main seawater port side. So sure enough, they did. All the water shut down. Everybody, I sent everybody over there, secure the flange, just shut this thing down. Well, they shut off this side, and obviously the instructors had seen someone pull this genius move before, so they shut down that side, and then they started flooding the other side. I was like, oh,
Okay.
dang it. Can't win.
Right.
Right. All right, so you guys go handle that. I'll go take care of this over here. And so afterwards, we were doing our after action debrief, and I got yelled at or talked to because as the DCA guy, I'm basically just supposed to. Excuse me.
God bless you.
I'm basically just supposed to stand there and direct traffic. I'm not technically supposed to do anything. And I took my ass chewing like a man.
What does DCA stand for?
Damage control assistant.
Got it. Keep going.
So I listened, and then I as politely as I possibly could, told him that was kind of stupid. Because I'm an able-bodied person, I know how to put the patches on, and if I got everybody focused over here, I am not above going to go get my hands dirty or get wet.
Right.
In this particular instance, there was no real response to that.
Right.
So, okay, fine. So we got through basic enlisted submarine school. I think I graduated 13 out of 87.
Congratulations.
Something like that.
Wow.
And then I went to my A school, my tech school.
Where was that?
That was in sunny San Diego.
Now before we get there, we got through basic training, we got through tech school. Any casualties, like at all, especially from that incident you just spoke of?
No,
Anybody get hurt? No.
no. Actually,
Okay.
we did quite well
All right.
because it was a timed event. It was a timed evolution.
Okay.
So we actually did quite well.
Right.
Everybody was on it. Everybody knew what they were supposed to do, and everybody went and they did it.
Right.
And that was pretty awesome. And I hate to keep using that term because it seems more superfluous than anything else. But it was pretty awesome. Everybody kind of did their thing, and I think that exercise was really designed to see what could happen when everybody focused on doing their job.
Right. So now we're in San Diego,
Ah, yes, San Diego.
sunny California.
Sunny California.
Happiness is, right? Okay.
Happiness is a carne asada burrito as the sun's going down.
Gotcha. In the warmth. I understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what was your job in San Diego?
I was going to Sonar Tech A school.
Okay.
That's TSA school.
And how long was that training?
Jeez, I honestly don't remember. Might have been 16 weeks, I believe.
Okay.
That's where they taught us the basics of sonar. Just in general, how sonar works. Because we really hadn't, really hadn't really broken down to what specific systems we were working on, because each system is a little different.
Right.
They trained us on the antiquated systems to really teach us the mechanics and the basics for the knowledge that we would be building upon once we moved on to the digital systems. So again, lots of schooling.
How long was it? 20?
16 weeks.
16
I believe.
weeks.
16 weeks.
Okay, go ahead.
Lots of schooling. Just learning how to teach yourself a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, forgot. And I went through BEE. Right after freaking boot camp, I went to BEE.
Well, that was before you got to.
Before I went to sub school. That's right.
Okay.
I can't believe I forgot that.
Where was that at?
That was in Great Lakes
Oh, then you stayed there
for 6 months.
okay, 24 weeks.
And so I was, for BEE, basic electricity and electronics, I was stuck in a little carrel. They gave me a bunch of books and basically said, here, start reading. When you get comfortable with the material, go take the test. So quite literally, they sat you in a little cube and you taught yourself electronics.
Wow.
If you got stuck, if there was a concept that you just could not get over, the instructors would come over and help you, but there was no one there spoon feeding you this information.
Gotcha.
So you would go, you'd go take your test, forgot how long the time was, but you go take your test, you'd feed it into an ocular reader system, and you'd get your results right there. If you failed a test, then you automatically were assigned extra study, mandatory extra study, after school, before school, because I went to school like around noontime.
Yeah.
So I could either stay after or go early to get my study in.
Whatever fit.
To bring that grade up, but I only had about 48 hours to retest.
Oh.
If I failed the retest, then I had what's called an ARB, Academic Review Board, and I had to go stand in front of somebody and explain why I was stupid.
Right.
And yeah, it was interesting from the standpoint that I learned that I did not need someone to spoon feed me information, and that I really could teach myself, this magical stuff called electronics.
Oh, all right.
So I learned. I did 23 modules. Some of the other electronic rates, specifically the electronic technicians, they did 34 modules.
Okay.
So they progressed all the way up into integrated circuits, probably a little bit into micro miniature repair, stuff like that.
All right.
I can't believe I forgot BEE. That was stupid. That was crazy. So then,
But you didn't.
I got through it.
Well, you didn't forget it either. Go ahead.
I think it was one of those things like the traumatic memory. You just repress it.
Yes, it was exactly. So you need to stop kicking yourself about that. You didn't forget it. You were trying to put it away somewhere. and you didn't succeed.
There's a reason for that, right?
Okay. So now we're
back in San Diego,
back
back at A school, 16 weeks, learning formulas on how to determine our submarine's detectability from the enemy or the opponent's standpoint, how to essentially gauge what we call a range of the day, how far away does an opponent need to be before you can detect them 50% of the time, stuff like that. So we learned basic oceanography.
right.
So then I graduated there, and then I went to my C school, which is follow-on, no kidding, tech school. And I ended up with the AMBQQ5 combined maintenance school. That was like another 26 or 32 weeks right there in awesome San Diego.
Okay.
That was a little bit more intense because then we got these mountains of technical manuals for this mystical magical thing called the Q5.
What is the Q5?
Sonar systems, mainframe sonar system on board submarine.
Okay.
They told us that. I had never seen that. And it's like, okay, here's how you learn how to push the buttons. Here's how, when you push this button, here's what happens. This is called a pro tree. And we had these books. You started off over here, and you could just unfold page after page after page after page until you had this whole thing of when you push this button right here, it opens up this, and you push this here, and it opens up that, and then and I'm just kind of looking at it like, what in the name of Christ have I gotten myself into?
Right.
Got through that somehow.
Okay.
And so then afterwards we had our choice of what boat, not necessarily what boat, but what assignments that we wanted. Did we want to go on fast boats? Did we want to go on boomers? Did we want East Coast? Did we want West Coast? What do you want to do? So there was this guy, his name was Chuck. I want to say his last name's Engel, but no, it's not Chuck Engel. He's a reporter. But Chuck, he wanted to go back to Connecticut. So he wanted to flip-flop with me. He wanted to trade with me. Even though I had a higher grade, he had a lower grade. He asked me, do you want to trade with me? Okay, well, where are you slated to go? He was slated to go on a fast boat on the West Coast. Well, I know for sure there is no way in hell I was going to willingly go back to Connecticut. I said, sure.
Okay.
So we went to the instructors, hey, flip-flop, bang. So in July of 1989,
Right.
I reported on board USS Louisville at the sub base in San Diego.
Okay.
And that was probably the most scared I have ever been in my entire life.
Why?
Because I didn't know, I didn't know what I was really, I mean, this was the fleet, right?
They do.
So up until that point,
Right.
the fleet was a threat that the instructors used to get you to do your work, to focus on the academic portion of what it is they were trying to get you ready to go do. So the fleet was a threat. So I had completed all of this schooling, didn't get sent to the fleet, but damn it, I ended up at the fleet anyway.
Okay.
You know?
I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm in my dress whites, I popped down the hatch and I'm standing in the crew's mess, trying to figure out where to go, who do I talk to, you know, all this good stuff.
Yeah.
And this guy walked up to me, Raoul Chapman, and he kind of looked down at me and he said, so you're the new guy. Big old smile on my face. Yep, I am. I am him. We'll see. Okay.
All right.
Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
You know. So I went and got checked in, and the XO at the time, Frank Drennan, he determined that me being the new guy, the new sonarman, would not be a good fit for their next little op that they were going on,
Why?
which was PCO ops.
Why weren't you a good fit?
Because I was a new sonarman and they were going into the PCO ops is a very intense ASW or USW environment. Me being the new sonarman, he did not think that would be a good learning environment for
Okay.
me because everything's so fast paced, everything had to be just a certain way to help support these new commanders that they were going to be giving these submarines to.
Right.
So he sent me to the Houston. Okay, fine. Okay. So I had to go through that whole nerve-wracking process again of reporting on board the Houston. I had one underway, exactly one underway up until this point.
One what?
One underway, being out on the submarine
Right,
under the
yeah.
water.
That's what I thought, yeah.
One underway, which lasted all of about 3 or 4 days.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to the Houston. They said you're going to go on a spec op. Okay, I'm like, all right, well, what does that mean? You're going to go play submarine games. I'm kind of looking around like, what? So then I had to my senior chief, St. Chief Conkle, he pulled me aside and he explained to me, this is what we're about to go do. We're about to go somewhere where we're not supposed to go. We're about to see stuff that we're not supposed to see, and we're probably going to record all of it. And you can't tell anyone about it.
Right.
Really? Yes. Okay. So I go get all my stuff, take it down to the Houston, and we're out. We're gone. 2 months, solid. Come back, I want to say like June or July. Wait, July, August, September. Yeah. So we came back in September. And during that underway, I met this awesome senior chief. He was an ACAN writer. So I meant he had committed to memory the entire Soviet naval order of battle. Everything. Because that was his job code.
Right.
And so me being the new guy, him being the senior chief, he saw me struggling with something and he's like, okay, here, this is how you do this. So I immediately identified him as someone who knows.
Right.
So then essentially I was in his hip pocket every time I saw him. Senior chief, what are you going to teach me today? What are you going to teach me today? What are you going to teach me today? Well, here he has a willing pupil and he has all of this information. So he starts pouring what he knows into me.
Right.
So, and I'm just soaking it up
Okay.
because this is really cool, right? So once we got on station, we started doing our submarine stuff. It was like heroin. It was awesome.
It was addictive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we go through the spec op, come back, I go back to Louisville.
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting in cruise mess eating, and one of the nukes, he's giving me attitude. So what did you do while we were out at sea? I went to sea. Oh yeah, what did you do? Did a spec up on the Houston. And he stopped and he looked, really?
Right.
Yeah, I sure you did. He thought I was lying.
Right.
Until time came around for me to get my little ribbon
Uh-huh.
for what we did on board Houston.
Right. Completing the tour.
Right.
Yeah.
So as submariners, we don't get a lot of ribbons.
Okay.
We don't get a lot of the flashy stuff.
Uh-huh.
So for me being the new guy, and I get this naval unit commendation, I was like, he did something. So a couple more weeks go by, word comes down. We're going on a spec op. Okay, cool. Where are we going? Right?
Yeah.
So we're doing all the workups, doing all the training, and I'm eating it up. I am in sponge mode. I'm soaking up everything that I could possibly get because, again, we want to have, our whole goal is to have a successful underway. So we're about to leave. It's probably literally like 24 hours before we toss the ropes off and we're getting underway. And we're getting our ACANT riders on board. They come and they are pretty much the senior advisors directly to the captain with respect to the tactical situation that we're going into and what's the best alignment for the ship to gain all the information that we're trying to get.
Right.
And so I'm standing, I went to go, I had some maintenance that I had to do. Completed the maintenance, go walking in the sonar, and who do I see? Senior Chief Anderson.
There you go.
I was like, Senior Chief, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm riding you. You're on this boat? Yes. And we just kind of smiled at each other like, oh yeah, we're in there. And my chief, Chief Oding, for whatever reason, he was not fond of me. So he kind of looked at me and looked at Senior Chief like, you two know each other? Yes.
Okay.
So we get underway, and once again, it's quite literally like we picked up where we left off on board the Houston.
Right.
What are you going to teach me today? What are you going to teach me today? What are you going to teach me today? And so once again, he just starts pouring all of this knowledge into me, and we had a great underway.
So how long did that tour last?
I was on board Louisville from '89 to '94.
Okay. All right. How many total years did you do while you were in the service?
14.
Okay. Did you stay on the Louisville till the end of your?
No.
No.
We have what's called the sea service rotation.
Uh-huh.
So they in their infinite wisdom, they don't want folks to get burned out on sea duty.
Uh-huh.
So you do like a 5-year sea rotation, and then you do 3 years on shore duty. So I was rotating off to shore duty.
Okay.
And I literally got screwed into instructor duty in Connecticut. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, we already know how you feel about Connecticut. So
there aren't enough words that you can repeat in front of women and children.
I've got to ask you. I want to skip the weather part and just tell me about the job in Connecticut.
The job itself in Connecticut was very cool.
Okay.
Because
what did you do?
I was an instructor.
Right.
I taught acoustic intelligence collection and analysis.
Uh-huh.
And most important, well, my favorite part of it was teaching tactics.
Oh, all right.
Because tactics is a dynamic thing. You have to be able to think on your feet. You got to be able to adapt. You have to be able to say, well, if we can't get this, what's the next most important thing? What's the next most valuable thing that we can get? Okay, well, how do we get there? And you have to be able to plan. I'm not going to say it's like split second timing, but it's more like split minute timing, right? Because remember, you're dealing with these objects that are as long as a football field,
right?
Traveling underwater,
yeah,
and you don't have any windows to see who else is out there.
Exactly.
So tactics for me was it. That was the real deal stuff for me. So I ended up doing 23 pre-deployment trainings while I was there. And pre-deployment trainings are submarines that are going to go out. They're going out to go do spec ops.
Huh?
They're off to go do spec ops.
Okay.
My favorite thing. And so I ended up doing 23 pre-deployment trainings, and I loved every single one of them because I as an instructor, I had the opportunity to watch these sonar crews grow and become more knowledgeable in what it is that they're doing, different ways to accomplish their mission.
Right.
And I hope, I can't really say, but I hope that I was able to open that door to be able to think outside the box a little bit.
Okay.
Right. So during that time, I was happiest, obviously, when I was at work.
Cool. During your service career, did you ever see any combat?
Desert Storm.
All right. And what year was that?
That was 91.
Okay. What country?
Well, Iraq, Kuwait.
Okay. Were you on land or were you on a vessel?
I was at sea.
Okay. And
I was at sea because I had rowed Chicago also. So
what now?
I rowed Chicago also.
Chicago was
another submarine.
Got it.
So technically, I did 3 submarines on the West Coast: Houston, Louisville, and Chicago.
Uh-huh.
Chicago was already at sea when Desert Shield transitioned into Desert Storm, and when Louisville shot. See, my boat was the first boat to actually shoot missiles during wartime. We were the first boat to shoot in hostility since the end of World War II.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I was already at sea on board Chicago. Came back because
Came back to what?
well, I had to come back to the continental United States because of the purge tempo regulations. because you have to. If I was trying to stay at sea for a whole year,
Right.
so make a long story short, the reg stipulated I had to come back stateside for 14 days
Right.
before I could leave again,
Okay.
and that was the longest 14 days ever.
Okay.
Because I flew from Guam to Pearl, back to San Diego, drove my car back to Georgia, hanging out with my grandma, watching everything on CNN, wishing that I was with everybody else, you know, doing all this cool stuff. And then when time came back for me to go back to San Diego, I was out the door like a shot. It's like, Grandma, I love you, gotta go, and I was gone.
Right.
So then flew back to San Diego. Yeah, and then this is where they lost all of my stuff.
You mean your belongings or your
Yes.
records?
No, lost all my belongings.
Okay.
My uniforms, everything.
Yeah.
Anyways, get back to the boat, and we're back off to sea again. You know, we're heading back to the Red Sea. And then that was the end of Desert Storm before we could actually get back there. So I was like, dang it. Because we had shot missiles before Desert Storm also. And that was it. That was interesting. Because back then you had to spin your missiles up 3 hours before you shot them.
You had to what?
You had to spin your missiles up.
Spin?
Mm-hmm.
Spin them.
Yep. Get your gyros going. You had to warm up your missiles.
Okay.
So you had to get your gyros up, feed them the most accurate start point that you could give them. This was when GPS was still in its infancy.
I was going to say this has to do with navigation. Go ahead.
Right. So you had to give them the best starting point that you could give them, and then update that. Because remember, the platform isn't just stationary. We're moving through the water. So there's this constant flow of information going to this missile
Right.
before you push the button and say go. But the more accurate that you can give them, the more accurate start position you can give them, the more accurate end position that they'll be when you actually.
Does that have to do with programming?
It had, well, not necessarily programming as it is constantly updating the mission profile.
All right. So who's doing the updating?
The FTs,
Who? The
the
what?
fire control technicians.
Okay. In human beings.
Yes,
All right. So you're saying give them the up-to-date information.
give the missiles.
Who's doing the giving? You?
The folks in, well, Thunder, folks in Colorado, they wrote the mission profile. The ETs, the navigation ETs, they're providing the constant navigational updates.
Right.
And then the fire control technicians are actually feeding everything into the missiles. Make sure, and they're checking the status of the missiles, make sure the missiles are good. Because the CCS Mark 1, it talks to the Tomahawk once a second. And it keeps asking, what are you, what are you, what are you, what are you? If that missile the missile's supposed to respond, BGM 109G, I'm Tomahawk. If that missile ever says I'm a toaster, that's a wrap. You
Right.
shut that thing down, it's not going anywhere.
Okay.
So that's why we constantly update not only our position, but we're constantly checking the status of that weapon before we fire it.
Okay.
To make sure that it performs according to our expectations.
Were there any casualties in your unit?
Nope.
Okay. Through school, through your training, through basic training,
No, sir.
no casualties. Did you ever get hurt?
Yes. I got hurt loading weapons.
There was one.
Got hurt loading weapons. Somebody left one of the drain valves, one of the drain wrenches in the weapon shipping hatch, and somehow or another somebody knocked it loose and it fell about 15 feet and cracked me right in the top of my head. And I bled all over. I bled like a stuck pig, literally.
Okay.
And I ended up getting like 5 staples in my scalp. That happened on a Friday. I didn't even get out of bed all weekend just for the necessities. And then Monday morning, got underway.
Gone.
Gone.
Back to work.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Still got the scar to prove it.
Did you ever? I'm sure. I'm almost ready to take this for granted. Were you involved in any battle planning?
On board the carrier.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't like-
On a regular basis.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so what did that involve?
Well, a lot of the battle planning really was just thinking from the enemy side. If I was the bad guy, how would I do this? Because they taught us in submarine school, you always assume that your enemy is as good as you are.
Right?
So if your equipment is the same, the only advantage that you would have would be to be smarter than your opponent.
Okay.
So conversely, to be smarter means you would have to do, sometimes you might have to do things that hadn't been done before.
All right.
And that also means you gotta play instructor, again, with folks that have a fairly rigid mindset on this is how we're gonna go prosecute this guy. And sometimes that's just not the right thing to do. Because I had, see, on the carrier, they hadn't even really seen anyone from a submarine before. So they didn't even know what to do with me. But once I kind of proved my worth and my value, I transitioned into being the go-to guy. Anything having to do with submarines, submarine combat, getting intel from subs, using our submarines as attached to our battle group to go prosecute a guy or to just go loiter in the area.
Prosecution. Did you change career fields?
No, when we say prosecute contact, that
Yeah.
means we do an approach and attack. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're actually putting ordnance on target, but it means we are going to go chase this person down, or this certain platform. We're going to go chase this platform down. We're going to follow him. We're going to put eyes on him, and we're going to make sure that he's not a threat. If this platform conducts any type of threatening maneuvers, we're going to put ordnance on it.
Who did you ever use that against?
There was a Iranian submarine that we had to make sure didn't leave port.
Leave port. And how did you manage to do that?
I stuck one of my submarines on it.
So because, well, I guess I take it that since apparently they were aware that your sub, one of our subs, was
Well, on the carrier, I was a composite warfare commander.
okay.
When I'm on watch, all right, so I was an E6. At the time, I was an E5. Sorry.
Right.
So when I was on watch,
What rank were you when you separated?
E6.
Okay, go ahead.
When I was on watch, I basically spoke with the authority of the Commodore. So when we heard that one of the Iranian submarines, they only have 3, when we heard one of the Iranian submarines was preparing to leave port, I had this vast array of platforms, one of which was a submarine that I trained in Connecticut before I went to the carrier.
Okay.
So I knew their capabilities and I knew what they could do because I trained them. Go hang out over here. Just don't want you to end up where you're supposed to end up. I want you to go hang out over here. Just tell me, just kind of loiter and see what you see. And if you see this guy leave port, you call me. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing.
Right. Yeah.
I had the authority to do that. And I told the Commodore, here's what I'm doing. And that was one of those instances where, gee, we've never really done that before. What made you think to do that? Well, sir, it's a submarine. That's kind of what we do. Well, yeah, I know that, but why in this instance? Well, number one, it's an Iranian submarine. Number two, we're riding on $4 billion of the loudest platform in the United States Navy. It's not like you need to be a genius to figure out where we are. And number three, that boat is one of the more quieter ones that are out here with us. So you fight fire with fire in their medium. So if they hear these guys leaving, we're gonna know. That's gonna give us a little bit of lead time. Again, contingency planning. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna handle it? So on and so forth. And so the Commodore really liked that. So he left me he left me alone.
Gotcha. Okay, so, but you were never a prisoner of war.
No, sir.
But, okay, so during your combat, there were never any casualties except for that accident that you had. Thank God for all of that. Okay, good. You told me about one ribbon. What about any other awards, medals, or citations?
Well, I got 3 Navy Achievement Medals for
What?
well, one for teaching at sub school.
Okay.
The other was, no, actually, 2 for teaching at sub school. The other one was for being the composite warfare commander, basically for the Persian Gulf while we were on our deployment on board the carrier.
Okay.
Because Commodore really liked me. I always knew what was going on. I was on top of it, so they gave me a NAM. I got the Liberation of Kuwait Medal from the Kuwaiti government. I got the Liberation of Kuwait Medal from the Saudi Arabian government. Navy Achievement Medal. We got the Presidential Unit Citation for Desert Storm. I got 2 Joint Meritorious Unit commendations for operations on board Louisville and Chicago, I think. National Defense for Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Navy Expeditionary Medal. What else did I get? Yeah, and then shooting rifles and pistols.
Okay, cool.
Southwest Asia with 3 clusters. Yeah, I remember that.
Were you married during the service or afterwards?
Both.
Both. Okay. How did you, and also your original family, while you were in the service, how did you stay in touch with your family anyway?
Oh, I called my grandma all the time.
Okay.
Let her know what I was doing because she, when I told her I was going into submarines, the first words out of her mouth, "You cannot drink all of that water. What are you going to do up underneath it?" I'm like, mind my damn business. How
was the food?
It was good.
Was it? Did you feel like throughout your military career you had all the supplies that you needed? You ever come up short?
I never felt that way.
Okay, but
I think that we could have thought things through a little bit better. Could have done it a little smarter.
About supplies?
About supplies.
Really?
We could just I think we could streamline some of the paperwork and the tracking. Because let's say for example, I needed a memory bank or a memory stack for this particular computer.
Right.
Well, I had to fill out 3 different levels of paperwork just for the supply person to tell me we don't have it. Okay, why not? This is mission critical. Okay, well, if it's mission critical here, I need you to fill this out.
Right.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So then here we go with this.
Right.
Well, then they go to, I want to say the next level up, which is depot level, and they may not have it. Okay, now what do I need to do? Well, here you got to fill this out. Oh, Christ almighty. Why can't we just pick up the phone and make a phone call? And fill in all the paperwork afterwards. Well, because we just don't do things that way.
Okay. Red tape. A lot of red tape. Okay.
And I see that's where my daughter gets it, because I get frustrated and I don't really like curse a lot. So just
Right.
okay.
Frustrated. Got it. When you went on leave, where'd you go? And where's all the places that you traveled besides the ones that you've already told me about?
Oh man. Well, on leave, I usually went back to Georgia. That's where I'm from.
Home.
That's where my family is.
Right.
My first place that I went was Hong Kong.
Oh.
So I go from Georgia, Connecticut, San Diego to Hong Kong,
Right.
of all places. But I've been to Hong Kong twice, Japan twice, loved it. Went to the Seychelles, loved it. Went to either Abu Dhabi or Dubai. And that was before Dubai became, Dubai.
Right. Okay.
Hated it.
Okay.
Been to Thailand twice, Australia, loved it.
Why'd you hate Dubai?
I don't know, it just didn't have a good feel to it.
No.
Mainly because the first 30 seconds I was on board dry land, I was on dry land, I got sand in my eyes. It's like, come on, really? I just got here.
Okay. So you said, where else did you say you went after that? Australia and where else?
I see Australia, Greece, been to Greece, Turkey, where else? Guam. Oh, been to Hawaii 7 times. First time was like, woohoo! Trip number 7 was like, oh God, I'm back.
Okay.
Where else? God. Didn't make it to Korea. Wanted to go to Korea. I said Japan, Thailand, Philippines. Been to the Philippines twice.
Right.
And I think that's about it.
All right, just a couple more questions.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, when you got out of the service, you got married while you were in the service, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when you got out, did your family ever live with you? I doubt it. In the Navy?
No.
No. All right, so when you,
like the woman I was married to.
right.
We lived in Virginia.
Uh-huh.
I met her in Connecticut.
All right.
Yes, so you should already know.
Not staying there.
Yeah, the story didn't end well.
Got it. Okay. So, all right. So when you came home, were you still married to her?
After I got out?
After you got out?
No.
No. All right. So when you came out, what did you do? Did you go to work? Did you go to school? Did you use GI Bill? What'd you do?
I tried to go to work. Tried to do the electrician / facility maintenance thing in Connecticut for a while. That didn't work. Moved to Florida with my college girlfriend. And we got married for a while. I started working in manufacturing, doing test electronics, test technician type stuff. We got divorced after her brother died and my son died 96 hours apart. So that was a huge strain. And then she just kind of like went off the deep end to accuse me of getting ready to cheat on her. Like, fuck, you're clairvoyant now? So, anyways, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trauma.
Yeah,
Trauma.
yeah, pretty much.
Sounds like.
And so as of now, I'm building thermal cameras. But I went back to school. I got my...
Use your GI Bill?
I used my GI Bill to go back to school.
What about to buy a house?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm a homeowner, but I haven't used my GI loan for that yet.
Okay.
Because I want to transition out of this house and get something different.
Okay. So you're a thermal what now? What is that?
I build thermal cameras.
Oh.
Very much similar to the ones that we used in the Persian Gulf.
Okay.
So everybody can see at night.
Cool.
It actually is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I do security, but that's another story.
You might be using some of our products.
I just very well might be doing that. Okay, so, and you still do that today?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. How long you been doing that?
Probably about 2 months.
Oh, you just started. Okay, and what did you do before that?
I worked at, I did aerospace, avionics.
For?
A place called Exton Aerospace.
So you got out of service what year?
2001.
Okay, so that's that's 19 years. That's 18 years ago. So when you got out of the service, you did what? Just give me some chronology here.
I was stranded in Connecticut for a while. Then I moved to Florida. Things started to work out for me. I went back to school. I got my associates in a year. Then I got my bachelor's degree 15 months after that. I got a third of the way through my MBA. And then I realized, I'm already $30,000 in debt. I don't need another $30,000 on top of it with no guaranteed way on how to pay all of this back.
Right.
So I did not finish my MBA. I got certified as Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. I did that online. And I'm working...
What the heck is that? What is it? A lean?
Lean Six Sigma, right? It's error reduction and process streamlining.
Okay.
And without sounding all technical and all that, it is the focused application of common sense.
And to use in what vein?
Manufacturing.
Gotcha. Okay. What did you manufacture?
Everything, well, cameras, actually that's one of the big things that I'm working on now is documenting their processes and making it smarter, more streamlined, so you go from one to the other, to the next, and as the product goes through the process, you make these adjustments to make sure that your end result is exactly what you want it to be.
Okay. All right.
Instead of getting to the end and saying, "Oh crap, this is really stupid. Well, why didn't we fix this thing?" Yeah, why didn't you fix that then?
So what was the next thing you did for a living?
Well, I've been doing electronics.
Okay, so you pretty much stayed in the field.
Since 2007.
Okay.
Right. So now I'm trying to transition into IT. I went through a cybersecurity training pipeline, and I'm still working on getting my certifications completed.
Okay.
And it's a little difficult when you have a 6-year-old and essentially daddy is the center of their universe. So I can't take a step without daddy, what? Come here, what do you want? But whatever she wants to learn, okay,
Gotcha.
I'll teach her.
Okay. All right, so, did you hold on to any of your friendships from the military?
Oh yes.
Cool.
Oh yes. Actually, I told my friend about this project that you're working on. We were on the boat together back during the 90s. And so when I moved here, I found him on Facebook.
Right.
And I said, "Yeah, I live in Palm Bay. I live in Rockledge." What?
Right.
So after all this time,
Yeah.
We end up being 30 minutes apart from
Exactly.
each other. So we talk sometimes 2-3 times a week, depending upon what he's doing, because he's progressed through his career. He got his master's in electrical engineering.
Right.
And so he's been working at Harris Corporation for 22 years. So depending upon whatever it is he's doing, kind of dictates how often we talk to each other. Sometimes I'll just get a text message and all it says is punk, and I know exactly who it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, last question. Basically, in your estimation, how did your military experience influence your thinking about war, about the military in general? Then I have one more after that. That's it.
My military experience formulated my thoughts into war in that it is literally, let me rephrase that, it should only be employed as a means of last resort.
Gotcha.
Mainly because every time we send someone that's in uniform somewhere to do something, even if it's training, the possibility exists that a mother might lose a child, a child might lose a parent, or a spouse might be on their own. War is never anything that should be taken lightly, ever. But we should always acknowledge and be thankful for those that wear the uniform, because we will always need them. And we should always be thoughtful when we acknowledge their sacrifice and their service in defense of our republic.
Cool. Last question. How did your service and experience affect your life?
Mental toughness. I can sum it up in those 2 words. Mental toughness. Everything that I thought that I could not do, the military showed me that, yeah, you can. The impossible is not impossible, it just takes longer.
Okay. Anything you feel like you left out?
Oh, there's tons.
I got that feeling.
Tons.
I got that feeling, yeah.
But if there's anything that I would want to be remembered for,
Okay.
would be, military is one of those few places where we should be able to learn how to view each other as individuals. Not necessarily what color we are, not necessarily what language we speak, or even what religion it is that we decide to practice. In the military, it is imperative that everyone simply do their jobs. If everyone does their job to the best of their ability, the result is a foregone conclusion. There is no way that we can fail. even though that is my personal belief, I was still subject to racism on board the boat. I actually had I had issues with the chief, and I had him tell me, "You act black." Oh, how the hell do you do that?
No comment.
Exactly. And then, I mean, there was times in the positions that I served in, I actually got a double, like a double take. Just, wait, you do what? Simply because of my level of knowledge and the positions that I was occupying at the time, and people were just amazed, like, and you can almost see the look on their faces, like, but you're black. So? Is that supposed to be a handicap of some sort? No, I didn't think so. Sit your ass down. So we learned what we're supposed to learn, that our brothers in arms are really our brothers in arms. And that's the way it should be.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, I want to thank you for a great interview, and I want to thank you for your service.
No, thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
More than welcome.